You are listening to the Your Empty Nest Coach podcast. Christine? Yes, Christine? You know, with the social distancing implemented due to COVID-19, that your listeners may not be in an empty nest right now. And they may be struggling with an unexpected full nest. I mean, listen to that racket in the kitchen. Ooh, you're right about that. You are listening to the Not So Empty Nest podcast with Coach Christine. Is that better? I think at least for the near future, it might be a good call. Sounds like a plan. Before we get started, please remember that you may leave me audio feedback at any time through my SpeakPipe link or Google Voice number. If you find yourself talking back to me during an episode, I invite you to submit your thoughts there. You'll find the links to do this in the description of this episode. On Apple Podcasts, click Details. On Spotify, click See More. On Overcast, press the I for Information button. Get the idea? Of course, I will always have full show notes with links to anything I discuss in this episode and an episode transcription on my website. Those reside at youremptynestcoach.com/P for podcast and 78 for this episode's number. I can't wait to hear from you. Hello, my most likely not so empty nest listener. Are you busy training up your protector, or does your protector run your mind right now? It would be completely understandable after all. They take their job of protecting us incredibly seriously. But just a reminder that you have the ability to become the CEO of your life. Yes, even during COVID-19. It is actually an incredible time to level up in ways we couldn't have imagined a few weeks ago. If you haven't yet listened to my CEO of Your Life series, I invite you to check it out now. It begins at episode number 64. But for today I welcome wellness warrior Caren Cooper to the show. Caren is another amazing human I have had the pleasure of meeting on LinkedIn. She is here to talk about her COVID-19 social distancing experience so far. So thanks for being here, Caren.
Thank you for having me, Christine. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So tell me, Caren, what is your family experiencing due to COVID-19 right now?
A lot of upheaval. Excuse me. My daughter is a freshman at college, and so she was enjoying college life, and she had to, she's now home, not enjoying college life, and she got into the sorority of her choice. So she's like, her sort of life came to like a screeching halt. And my son is in 8th grade in middle school. And so he's supposed to be enjoying senior activities, and he's not. And I get that in the grand scheme of things, that's not like the worst thing. But in our house, it's a little trying, quite frankly. It's been an interesting few weeks right now.
Yes. It's a lot. It's a lot for each of them. It's a lot of emotion that they need to process.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I just keep hearing from everyone is all of these losses that we all have in different ways, that we really need to take time and give our family members the time to mourn them and process through them.
Yeah.
And know that like they may look like they're good one day, and then 2 days later they may have a hard time. So
yes.
It's difficult to navigate that in a small space. So, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're teens. You know, my daughter's 18, my son is 14. So add the whole teenage angst part of everything into all of this. And, you know, I've been saying to them that I agree that it sucks. I know that it sucks. That's what I've been saying a lot to them. And I'm like, let's embrace the suck. Like, there's nothing we can do about it. And how do we figure out a way to go about it? I mean, he'll start virtual learning Monday, my son, and my daughter will start 3:30. So they'll still have school, just not in the same way that they had anticipated.
Yes. And seriously, embracing the suck, that is really important, because life is not this one thing. I think so many of us think life's supposed to be perfect. So we spend so much of our life being mad that it's not the way we expect it to be, and embracing that and learning. I mean, here's an amazing opportunity to learn that.
Yeah. And, you know,
like, we'll all be great at it now.
Exactly. But, you know, I also, with the expectation, you know, when you were talking about expecting our lives to be perfect and stuff, we're so far from it. It's ridiculous. But B, I've seen Tony Robbins live, and I actually enjoy him. And one of the things he actually says is trade your expectations for appreciation. And that's really stuck with me, especially now, because listen, we fight, we argue, even though I try to remain positive and motivational and stuff like that. It just is real life. But when you're expecting something and then you don't get it, it's because you're expecting it, and that's why you're mad at it. But if you're just appreciative of whatever it may be. Today's my husband's birthday. He turned 50 today.
Oh, happy birthday
He's
to him.
58. And it's just like, well, you know what I mean? So,
Yes.
before all I went out, I did get him a Carvel cake and whatnot, but it's like, okay, how do we be creative? My daughter made actually a video, a 5-minute video of all memories she had of him. And
Oh,
we actually made homemade cards, like we were little kids again. And that's the thing. That's what I mean by
that's
appreciation and just
wonderful.
sort of not expecting anything. Even though it's his birthday, you have to do something a little bit outside the box. So to force us to get
Yes,
creative, if nothing else.
it is. Wow. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
No
That's really
problem.
nice. So what day of I'm calling it social distancing. What day would you say you're in right now, your family?
Oh Lord.
Like, are you on day 5
Yeah,
that
we've
you're
been
all
pretty
home?
much sent. Yeah, I mean, I was sent home from my corporate job last Friday. So I mean, but over the last weekend we went out. So I would say this past week. So day 6, I guess
Got
5 or
it.
6.
Okay. And then I'm asking my Insta family to share their social distancing daily check ins. And I would love for you to share yours today with us. Are you willing?
Sure.
Okay, great. So for today, this is today specifically, tell me something that you have loved.
I loved the video that my daughter made. I loved how even just right before we started on this podcast, we were just laughing and giggling as a family. And my husband was joking around like he was like in Arirang doing hibachi. Like I just love the fact that we were just enjoying ourselves even in this insanity.
That's wonderful. How about surprising?
Well, that's a good one. Surprising was my side business is a health and wellness business, and we had a virtual Super Saturday, and I was surprised at how I felt virtually. Usually, when you're at these events, you feel the emotion and you feel so amazing and you feel the community. And even virtually, I was surprised at how incredible I felt doing the training that they had. It was ridiculous.
Oh, that's wonderful. Excellent. All right. And how about funny? You mentioned a funny. Do you have a different funny? Or would you say it's the same
Well,
thing? Something you found funny
no,
today?
no. Funny is actually and my friend who does health and wellness with me. The volume was really low, so we were sending each other like ridiculous pictures of like ears to the computer and just like silly, ridiculous things that we were doing while the training was going on. Because it's just you have to be silly and ridiculous, no matter what day
You
of the week it
do.
is.
Yes, it helps. Laughter helps. It really
It
does.
really does.
Yes. Okay. And then right now, something that you could use help with.
I want to, I want to say I need help because I've been trying to share my health and wellness with people and share that there is a backup, but I've been trying to be like not in your face about it because I know people are really scared and really nervous and people have been affected in terms of their jobs and whatnot. My husband has, so I get it. But I feel like I need the help with showing people and helping people understand and even people joining me on this health and wellness journey because there is A, to be healthy anytime, but B, there is a plan B in terms of earning income. So I just
Mhm.
want to not be that person in that way, but I'm coming from a place of caring and love and just showing you that it doesn't have to be, oh my God, how am I going to feed my kids? It doesn't have to be
Yes.
that way. And
This is
so,
a really good answer. And the reason why I like sharing these is I know another listener of mine will have this same thought, right? I've seen it online where people are like, should I even talk about my business? Should I not talk
mhm,
about my business? It feels weird. And I think the key is what's your motivating factor? And I can tell, like, for you, it's the fact that you know you have this thing that can help people, whether they're
yeah,
sick or not at all times. That's
yeah.
really what you can tell when someone is talking what their motivating factor is. I mean, I have had connections on LinkedIn this week that hi, would you buy this? And I'm like, are you on the same planet I live on?
I
So
used to be that person, so I can relate.
we've all started somewhere. So it's good. There's growth,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So I
Exactly.
think having a little grace, and it's funny because normally I would just block them. And this week I'm like, I'm just going to see what happens. And
Mhm.
if they get a second one, I'm like, I'm done with you. But you can tell where it comes from. And I think
Yeah.
that's important. And just keep that in mind. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So where do you feel in your life right now? I call it from one side, I call it your protectors in control. And that's where you're not peaceful at all, to the other side where you feel extremely peaceful. And I call that the CEO of your life. Where do you feel at this moment?
in the middle, to be honest with you. I do have the health and wellness business, but I also have a corporate job that ends at the end of this month. My husband has lost hours at his job. The kids are home. So it's been a little bit of a trying time, to be honest. But I say the middle because I've done so much personal development. I still work on myself and everything like that. A year and a half ago, I had, almost like a nervous breakdown, and I was losing my mind, and just how do I get out of? I was in a really dark place. And so I've done a lot of work. And so I'm in the middle because I've done the work, and because I also keep Hal Elrod in the back of my mind. Mel Robbins, Hal Elrod, Rachel Hollis. Those three people have really been like the catalyst to me lately. Hal Elrod wrote a book, The Miracle Equation is the book I read. I know he wrote one, The Miracle Morning. And he said, in order to get things done, you have to have unwavering faith and extraordinary effort. And I've been trying to keep the unwavering faith, even though I'm not a faith-based person, to be honest. I've been trying to do that, and just trying to keep my affirmations, to try to be positive. I do journaling in the morning, and I haven't stopped any of that like Rachel Hollis and Mel Robbins do. I try to do the 5-second rule. So I'm sort of in the middle because I am realistic, but I also know, like, I'm trying really hard. Listen, I get the, what are we going to do? Oh my God, kind of reactions, because I am human. But at the same time, there's something in me that just knows it's going to work out the way it's supposed to work out.
Yeah. First of all, well done on the progress you've made.
Thank you.
I'm sorry you were where you were, and I'm proud of you. And you should be really proud of yourself for being where you are, because that's not only impacts you, but your whole family and everyone you reach. So that's amazing. So great. And it is normal to get anxious and have things like that. Is human nature. That's what our brains like to do. We like to protect ourselves. So we'll go to those moments that are, oh my gosh, if I have no food in 2 weeks? And I'm a big person on Eckhart Tolle and the power of now and being very present, because my mind right now could go there, right? Like we could just be sitting here talking, and you and I could start talking about that. And then I could be, I have no food. Right. But in reality, I'm sitting in my chair talking to Caren with amazing technology. I have food right now. Exactly. So there's no point in living in it until, and when I'm in that moment, we'll figure it out, because we're scrappy people.
And I think I love the word scrappy. People call me scrappy all the time. Yeah. I'll be honest with you, I don't take offense to it. But the other thing is too, like, I tell my husband, like, my husband woke up sad today, and everything like that. And I'm like, it's your freaking birthday. Get over it. Like, I get it. I'm not giving you today. I'll give you tomorrow. I'm like, I was there a year and a half ago. I'll give you the time, but we can't spend the days. What I learned from that experience too is you are what you attract. I mean, that's you focus on what you find, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Totally. And I used to think it was hokey. And I even said that to my husband this morning. I'm like, I know you don't think it's, I know you think it's hokey. I'm like, but it's really true. And listen, have you 5 minutes? How the other thing Hal Elrod talked about in his book was, when something bad happens, you give yourself 5 minutes. And he's like, you set your timer on your phone, and you give yourself that 5 minutes to lose your mind. I was going to say a bad word, but I didn't. Yay me.
Thank you. You're saving me from the E on my podcast.
And I'm very proud of myself for that. But you give yourself 5 minutes. And you know what? Even if it takes a little bit more than 5 minutes, sometimes it's fine. But all day, every day, it's not serving you. Most important, it's not serving you, but really it's not serving anybody else. So while you have that feelings, and while, stuff happens, I mean, look what's going on in the world globally, but even even on a daily basis without COVID-19, you can't live in that state of, oh, woe is me, and the victim state. I lived there for 5 years ago, and honestly, it did me absolutely no good whatsoever. It just doesn't do you any good. And
it's very true. Yeah.
And if I make one more thing,
sure.
One of the things that I do, because you think, Caren, whatever, like, you don't know anything, but I do a little bit.
Who said that, Caren?
I every night I do a gratitude of things that happened good that day, and I'm grateful for, and it could be as simple as I made somebody smile today. So all of that combined. So even though I'm in the middle, I'm not the CEO of my life. I still do all of that. Things don't stop just because we're quarantined of COVID-19. You know what I'm saying? None of that should stop.
Yeah, I think what you said, a lot of good stuff too that are important. One is that timer that you said. That's what I really am a big believer in. If you have an emotion, feel it, figure out, label it how it feels in your body, and process through it. I think most of us just choose to resist it. And by resisting it, it almost makes it stronger. Yeah. So when we go through it, whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you're strong enough to get to the other side of that. That's amazing. And CEO of your life, like in the middle is good, because you're not at the bottom and you're learning as you go. And I think the other thing you said was, even without COVID-19. And I think what became, I almost saw it as a visual as you were talking, is that a person who likes to live in a place where, they complain all the time or something, it's just going to become more apparent when they're in a smaller space.
Yep,
and it's going to
exactly.
feel worse. It's like, woo.
Exactly.
So it's a really good time to work on that.
Exactly. 100%.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. This has all been great. You've
Thank you
shared
for
so
letting
many
me
great
share that.
resources. So I invite you now to share anything with my listeners, a quote, something you love, a life lesson, or a message. What would you like to say to them?
Oh, that's a good one. The life lesson that I've learned lately through these last few years of my life is that stuff is going to happen. And one of the things is you have to say to yourself, not why is this happening to me? It's Ed Milet says life happening isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. And so I always kept that in mind too. And you kind of think, what is this going to try to teach me? And I think that's so important when you're going through, especially now, what's going on in the world and everything like that. And especially if you have kids, the other thing I realized with my kids too is listen to people. And I'm guilty of interrupting myself, but listen to what they're saying. And especially the kids, acknowledge what they're saying, because a lot of times they really just want to be heard, and that's it.
Yes.
And understood.
Absolutely.
And they don't want a solution. They don't want to fix. They just want to know that they have a voice. So I think those are the two things that I would say is that, you just have to be a good human. Somebody on my team actually does, she hashtagged it, be a good human. And I just think that applies to everybody now and every day. You have to just be a good human.
So important. Yes. Give your children, give each other space. I think it's very important because even for me, I know sometimes I say something out loud, and by hearing myself say it, I get the clarity I need.
Exactly.
And then if someone offers me advice, I'm like, I don't need that. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
It's great. It's really good advice. Okay. So where is the best place for my listeners to reach you if they want to get to know you, learn more about you?
I'm on all 3 social media handles. So on Instagram, Caren C, and my name is spelled Caren. So it's Caren C 1123 on Instagram, and on Facebook and on LinkedIn, it's Caren again, Caren Cooper. And my maiden name was Shagren, Schagren. So if it comes up with other people's names, that's who you should look for. And I'm on all 3 all the time. So, well, not all
Wonderful.
the time, but you know what I mean.
And I'll put links in my show notes so anyone can just click there and they should head right to you.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks for being here today. I appreciate your time, especially with all that we have going on right now.
I appreciate you having me on. I really, really enjoyed doing this with you. And thank you for this service that you are providing to others, by the way. It's a really awesome service. So thank you.
Thanks, Caren.
You're welcome.
Oh, and you know what? Now that you mention that, I probably should mention on this podcast that I am going to have free support calls for at least the next 2 weeks, probably longer, for those of you in the not so empty nest right now who just need to talk to others and need somebody to listen to, or just know that you're not alone. So those will be available if you go to my website, and I'll have a link in the show notes too.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
So my listener, both Caren and I want to tell you that you are amazing. See ya.
Bye.
Thanks. Thank you. A huge shout out to every member of my GPS support flock. I invite you to fly on over to my website or see my show notes for a link to learn how you may become a GPS support flock member, where you will gain access to all of my programs, monthly workshops, group coaching, and more. See you there. You'll find the links to do this in the description of this episode on